Welcome to Vacation Station, hosted by Lisa and Nancy, editors of big-blend-magazines.com.
Travel writer Eva Eldridge is back on Big Blend Radio today to talk about her summer visit to Devil's Tower National Monument up in Wyoming. Eva is a contributing writer for Big Blend Radio and TV magazine, as well as our Parks and Travel magazine, and her article about it will be featured in the April and May issue of Parks and Travel magazine, but you can see it now at nationalparkstraveling.com. And, she's also a lifestyle writer, and she writes fiction and poetry. So go to eva-eldridge.com and also go to blendradio.tv.com, and you'll see her in our expert department. And click on her, and you'll see her articles and past interviews. How are you doing, Eva?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Doing good. I know, Nancy. Now, Nancy, you've been to Wyoming, right? Have you crossed over that borderline?
Yes, I have.
In your travels? I thought so.
It's beautiful up there.
I've never been up there, or did I go as a kid?
No, you did go as a kid, but you slept.
Okay, Eva, you didn't sleep when you were in Wyoming, right? You went there, wasn't it part of the eclipse thing that you went up there for?
Oh, yeah. We went up to Douglas. We spent the eclipse in Douglas, Wyoming, which is in the middle, and really it's not too exciting. However, we did go out and found a monument for the Oregon Trail, which, it was basically is a rut in the dirt at this point, but it's still kind of cool to see that piece of history.
So you went to see a rut of the Oregon Trail. That is really cool. A rut is so that's where the wagon wheels were when people were coming across.
It was a road.
See them.
Back when I was a kid still, before I was able to drive, my aunt used to live in Douglas, and we'd go visit, and we went out to some place with arches. I have no idea where it is because, I was a kid. But during one of those trips, those drives to this place with these arches, we stopped on the side of the road, and they pointed out, look, this is the Oregon Trail, so you have a hill sort of, and then there's a cut in it basically. There's basically like an old roadway. It's all filled with grass and grown over now, but there's a monument marker saying this is the Oregon Trail, and those monuments are along the roads, that cross it throughout Oregon. It's kind of amazing.
I think it is. I mean, I want to see it. I know Nancy and I, we're on our quest to go on all 417 national park units. We might be at 418 because now the arches at St. Louis is the arches over there. The
arch.
The big St. Louis arch is now a national park unit. We'll see. Which is interesting because that was dedicated to everyone moving west, which is interesting with what you're talking about with the Oregon Trail. But that is amazing I think that's what's so cool about the national parks is there's this natural beauty. You go to Yellowstone, and you've been to a lot of different national parks. We're here in Tucson, where you are as well. We have Saguaro National Park. But there's these historic sites when you can see a rut like someone's wagon wheel, and more than one person went through there. That's pretty darn cool to see.
Right.
Cool.
It was part of taming the West, and that has its issues too.
I was going to say good luck with that one.
Well, when you visit these places, like I've been doing a lot of the old forts and the smaller places, and we find out what we have done in the process of civilizing our country. It's
by very
totally
civilized manners.
Yeah, well, it's totally fascinating how that happened, but it's also very sad to what we've done to indigenous people and animals and trees and things. So, but it's interesting.
So
it is.
You went up there. You went up to Wyoming, and you went to Douglas. So this is part of your family life and your history, your personal history, and then decided, let's go to Devil's Tower National Monument. What I didn't know, and your article informed me very quickly, this is America's first national monument. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
We look at Yellowstone, which isn't that far away from where you were, being America's first national park as well as the world's national park. But this was the first national monument, so it kind of all ties hands.
Yeah. Well, and it's really funny because when I was doing the research on Devil's Tower wasn't really even discovered by white people until 1857, and it wasn't noted strongly. But it was 1875 when the U.S. Geological Survey actually explored the area. So we weren't our explorers and expanders weren't really in that area too much. It was a home to the Native Americans and to quite a few tribes, actually. And I think they tried to keep us out. And there was a treaty signed, and I mentioned that in the article, that lasted like a whole whopping year until Custer broke it.
Yeah.
And
it's interesting because I know from what I've read, the Native Americans, several tribes, all of them felt that this was a very sacred place, and they all have their own take on it. Their myths and legends of why this is a place you don't mess with.
Right.
So, and it's interesting, because here comes the cavalry, right?
Yep.
And we're now going to do this and do that and just take it. And it's kind of like if
they early on they signed a I don't know what you call it at the moment, but a document,
a treaty.
Keep people from. Well, it wasn't really a treaty. It was to keep people from settling the area. So they had about 1,200 acres set aside around Devil's Tower to keep people from actually claiming the land for profit.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so they file a claim so that like they own the land.
It's a restraining order.
Everybody was homesteading at that time, right? They move in and they claim this land, and if they lived there however many years and built their cabin, well, they actually set aside the land around Devil's Tower to keep that from happening, and they did that way, way before it ever became a park.
Wow. So this is some deep history out there.
Well, it's interesting because whenever you have some kind of huge mountain or geological formation that is different from everywhere else you look, you assign meaning to it. You want to save it because it's different. Native Americans assigned, I don't want to say religious beliefs, but some kind of belief system to it and made it important to them.
Spiritual.
And then spiritual. That's a good word. Thank you. And so because it's different from everything else, so in their mindset, it must mean something.
Right. And we're not always that way. All we think about is, hey, I can make a buck off this.
Oh,
why don't you just put it right there? Bam.
No, that's fast forward to the times we're now. But back then, maybe, I don't know.
Well, there were some people back then that were like, hey, and even the taming of the West, like, to me, it was like, who do you think you are to tame it? I don't like that term. To me, it's like, let it be what it is. But then, that's because now we're like all like little boxes on the hillside. So,
Well, hopefully we've grown, or we think, not all of us, obviously, but, I think a lot of us are more aware and try not to do that, but it's very difficult.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what's interesting about going to places like this, that it really, I think when we're so ingrained on media and everything, social media, and I think social media plays a great role in reminding people of places like this and to get out there and do that so that they can do their selfie, like this is where I am. But there's something important about this where we're sharing places that we go to. But there's also this thing where we get so ingrained sitting at home, maybe watching things and not getting out there. And when you get to see these places like, Devil's Tower, and stand in the places where these things went down in history, and you saw the rut from the wagon wheels. I mean, that's pretty cool, man.
I love that.
It really gets you to go back to what reality was like for people versus the.
Well, now you know it actually happened.
Yeah, it's very.
Yes.
It's an awakening, right?
Like when you see dinosaur prints.
Yeah.
To me, it's like you can't argue anymore. Stop it, people. There's the print right there. Sorry.
Well, you say that, but yeah.
Yeah,
but you can argue, but I'm sorry, it's right there.
So when you're there, I mean, did you feel like that ancient time? Like, I mean, it's not that ancient. It's not that ancient, but it is. You know what I mean?
It's not that ancient. What, for the Oregon Trail? The Oregon Trail thing? What it does to me is make me think about how difficult their journey was. I mean, you know, there's no rest stops along the way. Where do you take a shower? We get to stop at hotels. They didn't have those things. Those women, especially, you know, I'm always think about the women, that they are walking across the prairie in dresses. You know, full dresses, all the way down to the ground dresses. It's not, that whole journey was difficult.
And they had the first RVs, covered wagons.
Yeah, they did, without shock absorbers.
Yeah, really. No air conditioning. No, you didn't get your little stove and your little refrigerator.
You may have wine, but you really don't, and you don't get to put ice in it either.
You don't get anything. You don't get anything.
No cocktail hour at the bar or at the hotel. There's none of that.
Yeah.
Get over it.
There's none of it.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a whole interesting that, and then being at Devil's Tower, which is really blew me away when we drove up and could see it. It's I don't know, you don't believe it. It's one of those things. You know, it's you walk over to the Grand Canyon and you look down in the Grand Canyon, and that kind of blows you away because once again it's immense. Yeah. You don't realize how immense Devil's Tower is until you I mean, you see it at a distance, and you can see it from quite a way. There's a few places to stop on the road. And then you get up to it, and it's enormous. Yeah. And it's cool because of the geological structure of it. You know, Jeff wasn't really thrilled with my French fry analogy, but
this is
Jeff
that's what
it
looked
like to
who
me.
Apparently has a geology degree. We didn't know that until now. I'm like, yeah, we're getting scoop on Jeff in the article here that you wrote. But like you called it French fries. I look at it
does look like
and
that.
I have friends on Instagram who've been posting in some of the Facebook groups I belong to in national parks, and every month or so, here it comes, Devil's Tower, and here comes the debates of what happened. And the geology debates, what it looks like. But I never thought of French fries, but I like it. I like your French fries. I say it's corned beef.
Yeah,
that's been like.
But you don't see corned beef really standing up like that. But that's really close. Absolutely, really close.
You haven't seen my corned beef.
Okay.
The Native American myths surrounding this place, because there's several tribes in the same area, are amazing. I love what they decided it was, because you have to figure, like, how do you decide what that is over there? It's bigger than you ever thought of being, so you're going to honor it because you're scared of it, but then you're also like, well, how can we use it? You know, it's interesting when you look back.
Did you see how the name of it, the Bears Teepee and Bears Mountain and Bears Lodge?
Yeah.
All the variations on that through several different tribes, so they were talking to each other, I think.
Well, I think that's the biggest predator at their time was the bear. So that would be the thing you honor. Please don't hurt me, but then I'm going to hunt you. But then when something happens, it must have been the bear.
Right.
I'm just trying to be
or they knew white men were coming.
I'm just trying to be an early American, or that's even whatever, just an early person who looks at and goes, what the heck is that over there? Let me go see.
Yeah,
and trying to find a belief to it.
Yeah, and it's not that easy. The ground over there is not like smooth. It's pretty. The terrain is pretty rough, so it wasn't. I think it was difficult for it to make that approach to it because there's a couple of rivers stuff. So that's very interesting. And if
what's
you go
neat about it too, it's like El Capitan in Yosemite, the way it is, and you think you can just walk up to it, but you can't. Like what you're saying, like there's rivers.
Right.
It's not that easy.
Well, it is. It is now. They built. So part of the national park process, they built a road to it. and a bridge over the river. They had 4th of July celebrations there in the past. All this history is available on the National Park website, which is quite interesting. And then they had people trying to climb the tower, and they had a ladder. They actually built a ladder to get up to it at some point, and parts of the ladder, I think I read, are still there. I didn't see them. It was so busy when we were there. We could barely find parking.
I want to bring that up because I think it's important.
Yeah, it is.
Because I know you went in the middle of summer, and Nancy and I have experienced this, and it's something that the national parks as a whole, they're trying to, they do shuttles. There's all kinds of, things to look at in that you can't have everybody at one time, and they do shuttle systems and stuff. And summer is America's travel time, and we've learned to kind of avoid it. We tried not to, or at least go midweek, or times where people are back at work as much as we can. And so I encourage people to do that. Like, we've been in Mount Rainier. The time we were there, it was like crazy, and it was Labor Day weekend. And we got into the park super early, as we always did, and then we didn't have any food. We drove from Portland from a convention, and we were like, let's get there early so we can see everything. And we did, and we didn't have enough food and stuff when we needed to check in. We drove out, and we couldn't get back in. Like, there's this train of cars.
Amazed we couldn't get back in.
But that's the thing. This happens, and I think it's important that people do. You talk about, like, call in advance because you may not even get lodging. Like, look at it.
The thing is, there's so many people on the road today who do not have to go on the weekends in summer. They really have other options, and they should take them because they save money and they have a better experience.
Yeah.
And I understand that school's out for, 2 or 3 months?
School's out for summer?
Yeah, for summer.
Depends.
So those who, if that's all you can do, then
go for it.
Go for it. But the rest of us who do not have to be there at that time shouldn't be. Just,
try not to,
if you want a really good experience.
I think for us, though, we were there because of the eclipse, and I think not half of that, but a significant amount of that traffic was due to the eclipse. Because at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you usually don't have, we've done that before, come in late, and there's hardly anybody there.
Yeah.
That was not the case this time.
Yeah, so that's during the eclipse. So maybe it's not
I know
always.
that area got nailed big time.
They
wasn't really expecting it.
Yeah, they were not, and we talked to people. because we were in the state for several days, and we went we went a lot of places, and they ran out of food. They ran out of lots of things, and they were not expecting the influx. And I think we were going to go to Yellowstone. I told Jeff no because it's going to be packed, and it would have been packed. So we're going to go some other time when it's not so busy.
Yellowstone be careful. Awesome any time of the year.
Yeah, well, both. This is okay. When you were there, are there trails to it? I want to take my 1 hour walk. Can I take my 1 hour walk?
Yes, absolutely. You can.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
There's trails around there. There's several trails around there. There's not. You can get a permit to climb Devil's Tower, but that's all permitted. But there are trails all over that area.
I don't want to climb it. I just want to look at it.
Yeah, okay. So is it one of those parks that you can camp in, or is it really more like here's a monument and some trails around it, or did you get a chance to see that?
All the park, I think most of the camping areas are around the park.
Okay, around it, yeah.
Yeah. It's not a very big park. It's a really quite small one. After being at some of the places like the Grand Canyon, it's this pretty small area actually.
That's something that we find as traveling on the tour with the Spirit of America tour. Most of the parks are small, and 2/3 of them are historical. And majority of the historical parks do have a nature element, and the majority of the nature parks have a historical element, and how could they not, right? So It's really interesting. I want to go here so bad. I was looking at the the rocks on it. I mean, it just seems so crazy when you see these trees growing out of rock, and we see it here. We see saguaros grow out of rock, and I'm like, how are you doing this?
Well, in Colorado, because it's granite and it's fractured, it just takes one little seed to establish itself in there, and then you've got a tree coming out of it. It's pretty amazing. Since I grew up there,
it is because it's just going to slowly. I'm doing this. And it opens up and it makes a fissure that becomes a crack and then becomes a bush and then becomes a tree. I mean, it's amazing. It takes time.
And then the rock falls off.
Yeah, I know. And it's like, look out below. Watch out for falling rocks. But, I mean, it's amazing what a little plant can actually cause to happen.
Right. And you can see, so on Devil's Tower, I think there's stuff around it, but when you look up at the top of it, it's a lot more fractured up at the top, and you can see that weathering, which isn't as visible. I mean, as those porphyry things coming down. I have to look it up. Those French fries.
Porphyry.
And Jeff, those are not French fries because they're hexagonal. They're hexagonal crystals, and it's like, I don't care. This is still what this looks like. There's these columns of rock.
Listen, all these things we see in national parks get to be our own thing of what we see. That's the thing. And it's like music. We all have our own thing. So it's phonolite porphyry. I just want to try and say it, and we're probably all saying it wrong.
I think it's interesting that the name of it is Devils, when that is really not what actually happened. That was a misinterpretation of a person in the government listening to a Native American and deciding he knew what it was and naming it, and people got all confused. Colonel Richard Irving Dodge, he decided it was the Devil's Tower, and it really wasn't named that by the Native Americans, but he, I'm sure they're doing this by sign language, and somehow now this is Devil's Tower. I love it,
and no apostrophe.
Yeah,
it's not
that's
possessive.
The first thing I saw. Well, as soon as we got your article, I went, Eva, you know about an apostrophe. And I'm like, no, I'm just teasing you. But I was like, that's the first thing, and it made me go look. And I was like, there's no apostrophe on anything. This is like there's multiple devils or something.
But the myth behind it, at least what I read, all has to do about a bear chasing Native Americans, and they're running and they pray and to Grandfather Bear, funny enough, and then the thing pops out of the earth, they run up, and then they're on the top, and they're like, nanny, nanny, nanny to the bear, and the bear is trying to get them and makes these grooves, which Lisa calls French fries, down the mountain. I mean, I like that.
Yeah.
I love that story.
You fit your own interpretation to why things are the way they are.
Yeah, Eva's into the French fries. I'm into corned beef, but I haven't been there.
I'm going with the bear claw.
The bear claw.
Well, and a corned beef is actually quite close to that.
It's
Since
just
we
too
just
thin.
got through with St. Patty's Day.
I know.
What's the wrong color?
Yeah, well, listen, if you've overcooked, or it depends on what you do.
Like that.
It depends on who cooked it. But meat does that stringy, weird thing. But it is crazy. You guys did some close-up photos I was looking at. I was like, this is crazy.
You could call it pulled pork.
Yeah. I mean, do you think, I bet you rock climbers want to climb it.
Oh, they do. They do.
They do?
Yeah. You have to get a permit for that.
Yeah, because
but there's climbers on there. There was somebody climbing up it when I was there. And they are tiny, tiny little specks against that thing. I had a hard time finding them. And you think those things aren't that big, but that guy, that's not my thing at all. But, if you want to climb it, go ahead.
What if they hammered one of those little thingies in and the whole thing split?
The devil.
No, seriously.
Yeah, with all the tourists standing below. That would be fun.
I know. It's like, hello, here we are. And but that's why I look at the shape of it. It does remind me of El Capitan and Yosemite. And I think this is really interesting. And you look at it, I almost feel like that whole area, like, and you've got the Rockies that, you know, are east of the Sierras, right? And then you look at how the mountains move and these geological structures and even pinnacles up in Central California. And I'm like, this has got to be connected in some way when things were rolling around at one point in history. Like, I'm not a geologist, but something happened. And I feel like part of Yosemite and the Rockies could have just thrown itself right out there to Wyoming. It could have. I mean, you got Mount Rainier, you got all that. I mean, it could have in some way.
That's just kind of more like plate tectonics as opposed to, you know, the inland seas coming and going, because I think they're different types of rocks too. And then you know, depending on the volcanic stuff and also the Ice Age, they all had a part in our you know,
that's right,
basin and range topography.
Yeah, we have an Ice Age trail. Yeah, we have an Ice Age trail through the national park system.
Oh, cool.
And it goes through our, yeah, and this is probably part. I'm going to have to go look it up. This is probably part of it. It goes through Oregon, Washington State, and into Northern California. It's about the whole thing of the ice coming through and doing its whole thing, and it's trippy, man.
Well, things shifted at different times.
Obviously, I'm not a geologist, but it's cool.
It is cool.
It's cool. It's cool how it all works. Are you going to go back in life, do you think?
Oh, I'd love to. Oh, we actually really liked Wyoming. There's so much area that's just plains. You know, there's a lot of nothing, but it's kind of cool. Of course, there's a lot of oil fields out there, too, but I loved it. I'd like to go back. Jeff's never been to Mount Rushmore. So, yeah, I would like to do that. We like to travel. We want to go everywhere.
When people go there, are there like restaurants, gas stations? What should they expect in regards to that? I mean,
not
are you in the middle of nowhere?
Not
pretty
much in the middle of nowhere.
Cool.
Yeah,
it's cool. It's wide open plains.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were in. There were not. I mean, around Devil's Tower, you have to drive 60 miles or so to get anything really, like 30, 60 miles, because it's not that far off the interstate. But there isn't anything really much around there. There's a couple of campgrounds by the entrance, and there's, I don't know, I'm sure there's a gas station there that I remember, and a trading post. You can get food there, but it's not not during the eclipse. You couldn't, but
oh yeah,
but not. I mean, I wouldn't plan on it. I would plan on getting your, you know, thing. You be prepared already, because you might be disappointed.
That's really important. Yeah,
right.
Have your stuff. Yeah, have a cooler and have stuff if you need it. Because some people need to eat on time, and everybody's got like different things that they need to do. If you have kids, definitely be prepared.
Right.
And it sounds like an easy park for kids and all ages to access, right? To be able to see this. I mean, because you could see it from the road, so all ages can do this, right? And so,
yes. Be very be aware of the parking. Go early in the day because there's no parking, and people tend to spend quite a bit of time there. I'm telling you, the parking spaces are tiny. They're not big spaces. We took our truck, and you know how big our truck is. We couldn't find any space for the truck. We ended up in an RV spot.
See, that's exactly so. We always tell people go early in the morning, and that's the time when you see wildlife. That's, you know, if you're in a park, it's like the best time. And most people, and then I really don't want them to when we're there, because then you're going to take my parking spot. No, I'm just kidding. But you know,
sometimes those parking spaces were allotted like so many years ago.
They had no clue what was going to come.
Yeah, they didn't know people were
bringing.
But I just think.
Yeah, this is so cool that it's America's first national monument. I know that, you know, the Gila cliff dwellings outside of here in Tucson in Silver City, New Mexico region, southwest New Mexico. I mean, that is incredible. It's one of the first ones, too. It's either 1905 or 1908 that Teddy Roosevelt was really quite cool about national monuments and parks. He was good.
He did this. That's this one, too, 1906. So there was that early 1900 thing where we had a bunch, because Casagrande Rooms, that one was during that time, too. There's a whole bunch of them that happened right then.
Yeah, he did good. He did good for that, and it's like, wow, we got to take care of it. And you know, you look at, there's national monuments that are within the National Park Service, and then there's ones that are like BLM land or just different other management areas. But they're going to be usually one of the two, or forestry, national forests. Like we have the Ironwood Forest out here, and it's a national monument, but it's not necessarily national parks. So it's confusing to people, but the reality is, at the end of the day, they're all precious for some reason, and they were declared something for a reason.
Absolutely.
Ironwood is like, I'll never forget that day going the first time through there. And it was after I remember, Eva, you and Jeff and Robbie, we all went out to Picacho Peak here outside of Tucson, and spring, the poppies were in bloom, the mallow everything was in bloom. It was that same time frame, and we went out through there, and it was incredible. We're talking old-growth saguaros, old-growth cholla, and I have a new thing about these old-growth plants. And you don't see them as often until you go to a monument or these protected places. You don't see the old growth as much. Sometimes you'll see it in a neighborhood because no one did anything to it, but it's pretty amazing, isn't it, when you get into those areas?
I think there are a few of those really old saguaros on the road going up between Mammoth and Globe. They have the most amazing saguaros up through there.
I agree with you. Nancy and I went there. It was in winter, and we went up from Tucson, and we went up to do Tonto National Monument, and we kept asking people, why are these saguaros so much bigger than we've seen? And we thought, is it because it was, that year it was snowing, as you remember that year, and, it's amazing to see Saguaro National Park and all these places, like snow in the desert, it's always magical. And we were wondering if it was that. But it is the old growth. That's why they're so big, is from these old growth parks.
Yeah.
And then when you went to, like, Devil's Tower, like, you've got trees out there. I mean, they've been growing on the tower. That's crazy, and they're big, but they don't seem as big compared to the tower.
There's a lot of scrub there, like scrub juniper type things. I wasn't really paying attention that much, but the trees weren't like huge ponderosas like you see in other places. I'm sure there are some there, but there was a lot more scrub juniper type things, I think.
Yeah, that area.
They're beautiful.
Oh man, this is so cool. I'm so glad you went there, and that you can come and tell us about it. Yeah, I think go see America's first national monument, and it's obviously a national monument for a reason. It's got some mystery around it, and that's the thing. You never think mystery is part of our national monuments. Tonto, we were just talking about that. That's got mystery about these people just vanished. Casagrande Ruins National Monument here has that, and people just, who built this great house? There's all these theories, and that's the same thing with Devil's Tower, this mystery. History's mysteries. Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome.
And beautiful scenery.
Everyone, I want people to know to go to nps.gov/DETO for Devil's Tower. So it's nps.gov/DETO, and that will take you there right to the National Park Service website for that, so you can plan your trip. Also, Eva's articles up on nationalparktraveling.com to go to our Wyoming section, or just type in Devil's Tower in the search box. You'll find it. And Eva's other articles, including recipes, are in our Big Blend Radio and TV magazine. Just go to blendradioandtv.com. You'll see her in the expert department. Thank you so much, Eva, for joining us. It's been fun. Now we're ready to get going.
Thank you for having me again, and hopefully another park is coming up soon.
Cool. Where's your next destination? Because I know you've been I mean, this is the first time we've been able to talk to you. You've been traveling around all over the place and doing all kinds of conferences and books conferences and all kinds of things. Where's your next destination?
I'm going to Ohio in June.
Cool.
So I'll probably find some place to stop and gawk and see what I can come up with. And I think the next article I'm going to write is about Fort Laramie. It's been just a time factor because that has something to do with the Oregon Trail. And now I'm kind of inspired after the conversation. So.
Cool. Yeah, the Oregon Trail is huge. It's like the California Trail is also really crazy interesting. And Fort Laramie is like the pivot point of so much history on so many levels. I want to go there so bad. It's huge. It's so many things happen from there.
It was the depot. It was the supply depot.
Yeah.
For the people crossing.
Yeah, just like Yuma, Arizona.
Yeah.
It was like this. There's these pivot points, and it's like where people gathered. There's a crossing. There's a distribution point, and this is where things happened. And that's, if you want gossip, that's where it happened.
Yeah.
And we like gossip.
We do. We do like gossip on this show. But everyone, again, go to blendradioandtv.com. You'll be able to see Eva's articles there, or go to nationalparktraveling.com. Her website is eva-eldridge.com, so go there and connect with her. And we're going to close with some music here. We're going to play Great Blue Sky. It's from Everin Ozan, an incredible Native American flute player. He's won NAMIs. He's just incredible. Young soul at 9 years old. Took his pocket money. We were talking about the Grand Canyon, and his mom took him on a cross-country road trip, and they went to the Grand Canyon. He walked in, bought a Native American flute, and started playing it, and truly started playing it. We've had the honor of watching him on several performances and having him on the show over the years. He's been featured in National Geographic. He's Grammy nominated, so and now he's a pilot, and he's also a champion of California's skateboarding champion. he's with it. But anyway, this is off of his album. The last one he's done is As Things Could Be, and it's called Great Blue Sky. And Eva, the skies out in Wyoming, great big blue skies.
Oh, awesome!
It's got to be.
Yep.
Yeah.
We did.
So I thought
had beautiful skies.
I thought this would be the perfect song. And everyone, ozanmusic.com is the website to go to for this. Don't forget, Big Blend Radio airs live or every day from Monday through Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, Friday through Sunday, 11 a.m. Pacific Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. The best thing to do is go to big-blendradio.com, and you'll be able to see which shows are playing when. You can always listen to them on demand as well. Okay, here it is. Great Blue Sky. Enjoy. Thanks so much, Eva.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
You too.